Hello and welcome to the Motorcult Podcast, episode 76. I'm Eric Berger, joined as always by my guest, Ryan Sanitsky. Hello, sir.
Your guest?
Hi there. That's me.
Oh, sorry,
I'm the
co-host.
guest.
Sorry, I looked at the word guest, and you know how that goes.
That's
Co-host, Ryan Sanitsky. Hi.
I'm happy to be here.
Guest, Scott Berger.
Hi.
Main Patreon patron.
Yes.
Money bags.
Yep. All right, beer first. I am doing Northeast just because it was the last one in the fridge, apparently, and it's delicious.
I'm doing Farm Girl. It is delicious.
That is not a farm
This
girl.
is a Farm Girl.
That is a coffee.
This is a Farm Girl.
Quit trying to bamboozle me.
This is a Farm
That's
Girl.
a farm girl.
This is a Farm Girl.
Vanilla latte.
No, this is a Farm Girl. And
Sorry,
Farm
Jenna,
Girls
I
are
have your
delicious.
mic turned down because it's facing completely away from you.
Farm Girls are delicious because they are good summer beers. It is currently 1 degree below zero. Summer.
It was when we left the house. Now it's 7 degrees above zero.
Farm Girl.
It looks nice outside, but it isn't, I promise.
That's the thing with Minnesota. You know you're from like Minnesota when you look outside and you see it's like snowing and dark outside. You go, "This is warm," and people go, "Why?" I'm like, "It traps all the heat from like all the cars and shit. Like this is great. Like all of our global warming is now it's a big cozy blanket. It's great."
My throat hurts. Is that normal?
So Scott, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking the Farm Girl as well.
Yes, you actually provided this.
Well, in Eric's defense, he did open his Northeast before he knew there was Farm Girl in the fridge.
That is true. I was drinking this when I was downstairs programming even more Philips Hue light bulbs. I'm almost
good.
there. I think I'm 5 away from having it all hued.
You'll have all your Philips Hues, and then we can start working on OBS and get that working. And
Yeah,
then
maybe.
Finally, have a functioning Twitch stream that
I am
we don't
hoping
have to
today
restart 8 times an episode.
we will be progressing in the right direction. It won't crash the entire time. And that will make my editing substantially easier. However, if you've noticed, we do not have a Ryan and Janicam. Because even though it's here plugged in and registered, it says there are insufficient USB resources to power 3 webcams, which the old MSI did just fine. So
OBS is so great.
it is actually a great app. I think it is an issue with the whatever USB controller is in this Gigabyte Gaming AB350M motherboard. Shame, Gigabyte.
Thanks, Gigabyte. This is why I use Asus for everything. So
Well, yeah, either
That's
way.
an Acer, Ryan.
no Asus, all my stuff. This is yours, huh?
So does OBS stand for something? You keep referring to it. But I
Yeah,
don't think most people even know what you're talking about.
it's open
Like me.
broadcasting software. It's used by a lot of game streamers, but basically it is our vessel that connects all of the video and audio inputs of the streaming computer to a single piece of software that can allow us to live stream and record a video and audio file at the same time.
So, Burger.
Yeah.
On a completely separate note.
What? Oh, there's 2 burgers. You have to specify
Eric.
today. Okay.
Oh, this is weird. Scott, you gotta go.
Sorry, man.
You are a fan of Pusheen.
I am a huge fan of Pusheen,
So
who is an internet meme cat for those of you listening that do
Yes.
not follow.
an adorable Japanese.
Which, please go
thing.
follow Pusheen.
Actually, Pusheen's American.
Yeah, it started in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, did it? Oh, I didn't know that. So Sanrio, which is what Pusheen's kind
Hello
of.
Kitty.
Yeah, that's a
Meow,
Pusheen
meow.
sort of the style that she's based off of. Has a character that Jano loves named Gudetama,
Okay.
who is a egg. That's a sunny side up egg.
An egg that hates life.
Look at him
Is he
Yes.
picking his nose or flipping us off?
flipping
Flipping
us.
us off.
I like that. I'm going to hold that in front of this camera.
Yes.
And then if you look at the back, it's got a butt.
Yeah, it's an egg with a butt.
Stupid, sexy Flanders.
Stupid, sexy.
Is it you that sent me the Lego Flanders?
No.
Or was it Corey?
I think it was
It's
Corey.
like, Legos never look good, and it was like a Ned Flanders in the ski suit Lego. He's like, how does it feel to be so wrong? Anywho, let's move right on to guest topics. We don't have them listed in the notes, but we still have to ask you the standard questions because you have yet to be on the podcast.
And I've had a lot of time to think about this. Too.
Good.
You
I'm
have.
glad you've premeditated and brooded.
Except a lot of the answers for the
If you
Modial
say-
challenge have
if
already
you-
been taken.
If
so.
you say a automatic LS, you're actually off. The
Yeah, if you say LS4 4085 or 4080, we're going to have words. But anyway, the question number 1, you already know it, but would you prefer have a slow car and drive it quickly or a fast car and drive it slowly?
Well, the answer itself is obvious. Slow car fast. And I have some experience from going from a very slow car and a Fiat to the reasonably quick car, the 2002 911.
Oh, yes.
And I have to say, for commuting purposes, in a lot of ways, the Fiat was more fun.
Yeah, you actually to use it.
Front wheel drive
And
on
smaller.
a commute doesn't really matter, so it's really how much can I bang through the gears and, lightweight. The Fiat still weighed 600 pounds less than the 911, so.
Yeah, but right now you've got the Element, which is basically
that's
for
true.
all intents and purposes front-wheel drive, right? I mean, it's got that rear diff, but
God,
it
it
never
doesn't
kicks
really
in
do
ever.
That's not emphasized enough, is that all-wheel drive is like such a wide open array of different types of
And I took the
powertrains. I mean, it feels like a bad front-wheel drive.
I call that's actually considered active all-wheel drive, where it's if at any point it goes 100%, any single axle is called active all-wheel drive. Because like most all-wheel drive systems are some form of active, but usually when people refer
No,
to
Ryan,
that-
it's called real-time four-wheel drive. Look at the back, gosh.
Yeah, I know. What am I talking about? But like, Ford Escapes and stuff like that.
Haldex.
Ugh,
Except a Haldex, I think, would be way better than,
No.
than the real-time.
it's not.
Well, it's just different because a Haldex is an electronically controlled clutch, and it's a centrifugal or viscous clutch
Right.
in the Element.
It waits for the front wheels to start slipping, and then it gradually and
Right.
mildly
It works
skips
on
some
slip.
back.
If
Yeah.
if I had to use if I had to own a car that had a active all-wheel drive system, I'd
Yes.
take the real-time four-wheel drive. And the reason being is that the real-time four-wheel drive will work indefinitely, as opposed to the Haldex will fail indefinitely. Like,
I don't actually find a lot of reliability issues with Haldex, but the main issue with those
I've
systems
seen-
is they do what they're intended for. It's to get you unstuck. It's
Yeah.
not to make your car more competent driving around the roads.
that's true.
I mean, it works really well for that, and I do kind of like it for that reason. However, I do feel like it's not worth the parasitic loss. Because, I mean, there is still parasitic loss, even if the fluid coupling is not engaged. Because
No,
you're
you still
still
have the
spinning
weight.
that 90-degree bevel drive for the drive shaft, still running through all the bearings on the drive shaft, still have all the bearings in the rear diff. You still have more complicated rear axle with CV shafts, especially if it's cold out. You got the grease moving around, so... all-wheel drive, especially versus four-wheel drive, is a slippery slope topic, and we don't need to get into that for this one question. But it,
But yes, even driving the Element slow, or I guess fast. It's not fast. It's also got missing a few end links, and it's
it currently has no sway bars.
Oh, that must be a riot in corners.
It was even better when it had the Douglas brand tires on it.
yeah, that was this one, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it starts to shake at about 80,
Actually,
85.
I think a lot of the fun would be if you had really sticky tires and no end links. 'Cause, like, you get 100% of the body roll. It'd be like driving a 2CV.
So autocross it with some like RE71Rs on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like sticky and drive on the side of a wall.
I think it would roll over. I honestly do.
I'm confident it would.
Okay.
Actually,
so
yeah,
let's not
Scott,
do that
let's,
then.
let's not crash anymore. We're going to,
Low car fast.
Eric only has so many cars that you can put that Element drivetrains into.
Yeah, I don't need a second one. Second one, I actually don't have the list in front of me, but let's go straight into the Mondial or Modial challenge. So you already know the setup, and to
Yep.
save some time, we're not going to go over it. But what drivetrain would you pick?
So my actual choice that you're going to veto is an LS4 with
you.
the F40 transmission out of the late
Already been picked.
G6.
Yep.
And so as my backup, I went Fiero transmission with the 4.9 liter Cadillac high technology V8.
Oh, that is such a garbage engine. Why would you
That
pick
is
that?
a really,
I-
really creative
I
Eric
really-
correct.
I really wanted a V8, and there are just so few. I want the V8 sound. I don't care how quick it is.
But
Actually,
those are like 196 horsepower with the Alante intake manifold.
I read 200, 275 torque, but it's a straight bolt up to the Fiero transmission.
It is.
I don't know if it's a 4 or 5 speed,
But and to your defense, that
5-speed.
is an aluminum engine.
People seem to like it on the Fiero forums. I did
I
a
mean-
little digging.
I think that is just because it is aluminum. It is dirt cheap, and
Yes.
I mean it does make 200 horsepower, which is a huge step up
I
from
w-
the 3.1
Like I said, I
or
think the
whatever.
LS4
I like
is the right
the-
answer, but
I like the creativity of that answer.
Yeah, I mean I much prefer that garbage.
and besides,
Cadillac
like,
engine.
there's only so many combinations, and at some point you might even have to retire this question because all the different choices are going to be taken.
I don't know. There's a lot of
That's not
engines out
true.
there. We had
There's-
somebody say a Peugeot 205 GTI engine, or no,
Yes.
actually it was the bigger Peugeot with the GTI head, I think, on it, or something.
Yeah, I think it was.
was like the
I think it
2.1
was
liter.
Richard that
Yeah,
came up with that.
Mr.
Yeah,
Hawkyard.
yeah. Richard came up with this like weird like French like 4-cylinder
Yeah,
like
you-
Frankenstein build.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got the questions in front of me. I finally found them. They were buried way down there. The question number 2 was actually, what do you drive? We sort of covered that. So you have a
did.
Honda Element.
Yeah, we're an all-manual family. Between me and
Nice.
my wife, we've got 3 manuals. She's got an E6530 rear drive.
For those of you that don't know, that's 2004 to 2011 BMW 5 Series.
Yep. And yeah, it's actually our lowest mileage car, and that one's got 118,000 on it. The
Nice.
Element is 216, and my 911 is 139 on it. So.
Wow. You've put a lot of miles on the 911.
Well, I used to commute to and from Rochester, actually both directions, so
With
Wow.
that car.
which is why I didn't get the S2000 because I was doing a lot of highway miles. At the
I
time.
do remember that car debate when you were actually shopping for the 911. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then I don't think the S2000 has cruise control. Maybe it was optional, but like, I don't
Well,
think
half the
they
time
do.
my 911 doesn't anymore since the tune screwed everything up.
I
either,
still think
so.
that's a sensor on the clutch pedal.
I
But
pull it with my left foot sometimes.
You know,
Doesn't fix it,
what's I think is
switch could
funny
still be failing.
is that the 911 is the car I would choose as the car to use for driving over the S2000 as well.
yeah,
And
well,
the
it's a
re-
better car.
Well, as I say, it is a better car to drive, and weirdly enough, the S2000's appreciating faster. And I would just want to
Yep.
jump off a bridge
And the-
from the amount of money I'd be like just like throwing out the window from putting.
And the
so many
weirdest thing
miles on it.
is, the S2000 is not very reliable, and it's really expensive to fix.
Yeah, no, it's a very weird.
It's a very
car.
un-Honda Honda.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit. Well, I mean, it's also
Are you
rear-
talking the F Series engine or the car
Yeah,
overall?
the
'Cause-
engines are really bad.
The F Series engine. That's why a lot of people put K Series into them.
Yeah.
They're Honda famously, they designed a car called the Honda 1300S, which is a 1.3 liter air cooled 4-cylinder. With like
Was it based on a motorcycle engine, or was it?
no, it was separate.
Highway?
It made 100 horsepower per liter.
Okay.
But they said this is the most God, what is it? I forgot the term they used. It was something along the lines of like, oh, this is the most like uniquely engineered car we'll ever make. We'll never make one ever again. And apparently, when they made the S2000, they totally forgot about that.
Oh.
Where it's just like it was the same thing. It was like, they just did all the performance like the final percentage, and then
Yeah.
it was not Honda reliable.
I mean, it is a normally aspirated street car that is designed to cope with idiots that revs to 9,000 RPM. So I get it. But like a lot of the failures on those engines, they're not connecting rod or piston or crankshaft related. They're cylinder head.
Yeah.
So like,
Which is something Honda's typically very good at.
yeah, Honda can make a very reliable cylinder head that is owned and neglected by a consumer that will be reliable. So I'm not exactly sure why the F Series is bad, but the 911, especially the .2 996, I think is, I mean, it's still a great choice even years later. It's a much, I mean, I personally don't care that much looks-wise between the .1 and the .2, but I think it's a more handsome car on the .2. Plus, you get the bigger engine.
Yeah, I was originally going to get the .1 just to get in at the lowest price point
Right.
because there's a lot of rear drive early cars. They became a lot more like the 4S was introduced in 02.
Okay, so that came with the .2. I actually didn't know that.
Yes, it did in 2002 model year, and that was made actually through 05. Weirdly enough, there was a
So overlapped with the
I
997?
believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 05 was only the C4S
Okay.
convertible and maybe the turbo.
Interesting. So they kind of pulled a 3 Series where they keep the convertible a year later.
Yeah, something like that. Because
Okay.
the 997 was introduced for the 05 model year. But,
Okay. But I mean, your 911's actually been, I mean, you've done a lot with it other than just commute and highway miles, and it's actually been very reliable, other than the fact that obviously consumables are fairly expensive. I mean,
yeah,
the
I've
oil
gone through a set
changes,
of
but,
tires, but it
but
really
you've done track days with it, you've done autocross now, winter
Yep.
driving.
isn't- yeah, winter and summer autocross.
You've hauled lazy boy recliners.
Yep, yeah, I've got a roof rack.
It's a very practical sport utility vehicle.
And it's an old enough car where you can buy everything that you need used,
Yep.
which is
Yeah.
nice. Like the roof rack I got used, the wheels I got for it are used.
That's the perfect era for like
And
owning a
even-
Porsche.
It's a driver. I mean, it
Yeah.
just is. They're not going up in value, and I think it's worth a lot less than when I bought it, partially because I put 40-some thousand miles on it. But you don't buy this as an investment. If you want the investment, you get the GT3. And it's the only
still
996
looks-
worth
It
spending.
looks really nice still, even though that you put it through daily driving.
And actually, the
and-
interior, it had an engine replaced. It was a
Yeah.
garage queen with the IMS thingy, which is actually not very common, but this car was not driven by the first owner, and then it exploded and was replaced. The engine was replaced during a warranty.
In 2011.
That sounds right. Yep. And I got it with full service records, and boy, they spent a lot of money on it. But if you drive it, I mean, I drive it like once a week, even in the winter when it's dry, and that I don't know. It seems like it probably helps it keep healthy.
And we keep
Yeah.
cutting the oil filters open on the oil changes and doing oil analysis every time and using good oil. So I think a lot of that really helps it too. But since your engine was replaced by a main dealer in 2011, I actually talked to, way back in the day when we were curious, talked to both Bob Vio Jr. at Auto Edge and Matamidai, who was awesome, and then also a friend of mine that works at Carousel. And he said, actually they both said, like, I think they stopped doing the early engine case in replacement in like 2010. So his engine is actually very likely a 997 or the Porsche 911 after it case. So it has the bigger intermediate shaft bearing in it, which is much less prone to failure, but you can't replace it in the car.
Yeah.
So like even if you wanted to do it, you basically can't.
Well, you can if you do the clutch. You just can't like use a tool and pull it off the side of the engine. That's
No,
my
you
understanding.
you can deseal it, but you actually have to split the engine case to do the IMS on your engine.
That could be.
So that would mean a
They're
full
very
engine out.
rarely fail. I mean, they knew this was an issue by then. You know, the very early 996's .1 had a dual row IMS bearing, which was actually pretty much fine.
Yeah, those are pretty much
And then
bulletproof.
they, I don't know, cut costs further after negative feedback. I don't really understand, but then they went to a small IMS bearing that was single row, which is what my car originally had.
Yep.
And then later on, their ultimate, I guess, fix, which wasn't a fix, was to put a larger but single row bearing in, which is what carried over to the 997, which never gets ripped for the IMS bearing for some reason. So
Yeah, which is weird because they still have failures.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the ultimate fix was putting a plain bearing in both sides.
I think the reason that doesn't get flack is because the 997, like your car, for like whatever reason is like the quintessential water cooled Porsche people love to hate. I don't see the real issue with it because to me it's just like it's a 911. It's perfectly fine. Like it's a great driver's car. And
Yeah.
I feel like people just like look at your car and just like they just go, that's a water cooled one. It sucks anyway. And then they just that's their main complaint. They don't get to
And they go
IMS
bust after the
bearings and stuff.
997
Yeah,
and the 991s. And
yeah.
it's deeply troubling.
Actually, I'm totally okay with it because, like I said, your car is not appreciating as fast as S2000. It's a great car, which means that you're gonna have a great value for money Porsche for years to come. It will eventually go up and just skyrocket in value.
it will.
of
I mean, it's
course,
going to be
but, yeah.
E36 at some point. They're just going to be so cheap that kids and
just gonna
idiots
explode, yeah.
are going to like barely afford it, and then
Those
not
are gonna
be able to
be-
fix anything.
Those are going to be excellent EV swap candidates in the future.
Yes.
If not already. I mean, really. You take a Tiptronic car with a bad motor.
And you throw batteries in the front too. I mean, actually,
yeah.
they
Improve the weight distribution.
Yeah,
and
they've actually done that.
that's going to be a great car. So,
Yeah, if the engine blows again, that might happen. We'll see.
Yeah.
car number 3, the Element. So we already talked about the E60,
right,
talked about the 911.
Well, I mean, you've already covered some of the Element history in your
A little bit of it,
previous
yeah.
episodes,
We
but
can briefly touch on it, but
it's the replacement.
replacement.
But got rear-ended at Lake Elmo and Highway 36 on my way to work.
By a
Bye.
semi-truck.
It was a semi-truck. Yeah, that was life flashed before your eyes. It's like, oh, that didn't take very long. It's
Poor senior.
I've actually been rear-ended pretty hard in the old Fiat too, so it's not the first time. But anyway, that was totaled pretty handily.
Oh, yeah. Like 12 or 13 grand of
Yeah, and then
assessed
goodness.
damage.
the fight with the trucker's insurance is kind of a long and boring story, but it took a lot of work to get what it was worth because it was a manual EX all-wheel
Yeah.
drive.
And they just see it as a Honda Element. So
They
they're
just
like,
yeah.
Well,
and-
all the comps were like automatics and the wrong trim level. So once we actually got them to force themselves to do all of the specifics,
Yeah.
the closest comp they could find was one that we sent them, and it was in Colorado.
Oh yeah, and you did that. You had to do that with your Mr. Wags, right?
I had to do that with Wags. I had to do it with Boxster S when I got sideswiped. Everything. Yep.
Yeah,
So
that's-
you always have to fight insurance companies.
Which is lame too, because they're the one who hit me, and I had to do all this legwork to get
Yeah.
essentially because Eric had done all this maintenance to it. I mean, it was bulletproof
Yeah, that
indefinitely.
thing was set up. So.
So that was a bummer, and it still hasn't had all that stuff redone to it.
Well,
and,
it's because I haven't pulled it out of the buyback husk.
Right.
Because we're going to end up using pretty much all of the stuff that we paid for and got paid out on.
Right.
Anyway, okay. So car shows and events locally in Minnesota. That's kind of a big topic, but what are your favorites? I mean, do you prefer shows to like autocross or vice versa? And then what are your favorites maybe of both?
I mean, I actually really like the overlap. Like the street heat event, I really liked because
Yeah,
it
that one was
combined
really
both.
nice. Yeah.
And it's also fun to. That was actually my first autocross, and I did in your Fiat electric.
Yes.
And that was really fun. I mean, you had all these people up on the berm watching, and that added to the intensity of it. It was really fun. It was also a beautiful day. But I like to walk around the shows and look at the cars, and then
I had a lot of skepticism about street heat going into it. And yeah, I agree. It came out really well.
I'm really disappointed it's not happening this year.
It's
Was
not.
it not?
No, he's not doing a street heat this year.
Oh.
Is that maybe going to happen the year
Well,
after?
I hope so. He is planning to do one again, but
Huh.
apparently he can't or something because of something that happened with
Well,
the
they got the
fairgrounds people.
flack from the noise from the drifters. and-
Right.
Which, by the way, made
The-
autocross really difficult because you
Well-
had these drifter curves that were in all the wrong places.
Well, the
Oh.
other thing was
Yeah.
that one I'm gonna totally put whoever's in charge on blast for, because it's like, who the hell has drift practice at 7:00?
We talked to Balto about
Yeah,
this.
like what were you thinking?
And it's in the middle of the city. I mean, it's in an industrial area, but there are still residential neighborhoods.
Yeah,
They're
there's a
not
lot of
that
apartments
far.
nearby.
Yeah.
And
We've
stuff
parked
like
in their
that, so-
yards for the state fair before, so we know they're not that far.
Yeah, right. Now that I got that lithium electric scooter, it's gonna be way better.
But I really like the street heat. I mean, obviously, we all love the secret Petzaluna
oh,
event. Don't tell anyone.
yeah, I don't know what
And
event
I
you're
really
talking
like the one, the Afton, the
Are you- you're-
Autoleben?
Yeah.
Autoleben's good.
I
yeah.
give Jackson so much flack for not doing one this year, and
Yeah,
he's
what
not
the
even
hell?
necessarily planning to do one next year. I'm like,
To me, that event and the Petzaluna are the two that I would really consider bringing somebody who doesn't even like cars to.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
got the
I
beautiful
agree.
scenery, you got easy to get beer and food. It's just a fun place to hang out. And
the
so
Petzaluna event that happens each year in
Allegedly.
April and happens in Stillwater. Yeah,
yes, it's in
that one.
Stillwater, Wisconsin.
Stillwater, Wisconsin. In
Actually,
April,
the
yes.
largest Stillwater in the country is actually in Oklahoma.
It's in Oklahoma.
do they
you
have
didn't
a
know
prison though?
Probably, it's Oklahoma.
Oh, whoops, sorry, I just typed this in the wrong spot.
So yeah, I try to get. I mean, I like cars and coffee. I'm just irritated they don't do it in the winter.
Yeah, I wish they would. I mean, like, just call it
It's
like, or even if it's a different branded event, just like winter beaters and
Yeah,
shenanigans.
So I
or
mean,
something.
this winter we've had like no snow
exactly.
and I don't know.
Fairly
Car-
mild temperatures.
Cars
too.
and coffee. I liked it a lot when it was here.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah,
that it's
Motorplex.
in Shakopee, it's really lost like a lot of the,
If
the
I-
whole thing.
I hope it stays strong until I can find a better place.
If they still had them on the same day, which they don't do anymore, thank goodness, I would come to Cars and Caves.
Yeah.
I would ditch Cars and Coffee just because I've seen it all. Now the venue doesn't appeal to me. Now it's full of sponsors.
The venue. We've said this before. The venue is much more important than the actual show itself.
Absolutely.
Much more.
Yeah, because I mean, cars are one thing, absolutely, but like half of the Cars and Coffee show was people potentially not even interested in cars that are in a really nice place where they don't mind spending 2 hours. You bring somebody along that doesn't care about cars to Cars and Coffee right now, they're going to be bored out of their mind in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's
Yes.
very little shelter and shade. I mean, you just have to either do the car stuff or leave.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
luck bringing a kid to that event or
Yeah,
something
my favorite
too.
thing about Canterbury is when you can see the horses, but lately with the car shows, they've been blocking off so you can't see the horses, so you don't get to explore the venue.
Yeah.
It's like, why have it here?
I
if
love
you
Canterbury
can't?
for horse racing for sure.
Yeah, because
but-
like I remember when they were doing Hin there, and the
Hot
first-
Import
Nights,
Hot
yeah.
Import Nights, yeah. And you could the first couple of shows
actually
you
never heard
could
it said that
watch
way.
the horses, so there'd be horse races and then a car show, and like I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it
but
is.
Then they sort of just
But
stopped that.
HIN actually has vehicles like underneath their shelter things too.
Yes.
It's not just parking
It's
lot.
not just
I think Hot Import Nights is
I've never been to one,
It-
but I've seen a lot of photos.
that show. All right, so this is the thing. That show that started out at Canterbury, like with their reboot, it
Yeah.
would have been a lot better. But the thing is, when they started the reboot, they did it at the convention center. It was amazing. It was like Weekfest quality, which is one of the biggest like import car show series in the world. It was Weekfest quality, great, amazing cars, and now it's just like random like Civics with kind of sort of matched silver paint and Roto wheels and like Canterbury Park.
Rep Roto wheels.
Yeah, at Canterbury Park, and then they forget to turn the lights on for the show. So like when the sun goes down, everything's just dark.
Actually, before we move on, the Cars and Craft really impressed me this last year.
That
too.
was
There was.
That's a great venue.
In
Yeah.
fact, I was reminded of it because I think your cover photo for the podcast is like
Episode-
Rex
Yes, it was
Center or
that, yeah.
something.
40,
It's Rex Center.
yeah.
I was like, yeah, I remember that. That was fun. And,
Yeah, because that's also a really nice venue.
it's a perfect venue. It's the right size, and if you can curate, which they
It's
did a
fairly
pretty good job.
exclusive too. So
Dri-
yeah.
Drive Cartel does an amazing job. I think of all the groups in Minnesota that like do things, I think Drive Cartel is the most on the ball with just getting stuff done because they're an outfit, a third the size of the staff, I should say, of him and CC, doing shows that even though they're smaller, are just higher quality.
There's-
But I think the thing is they're not afraid to say no to people.
There's that, and there's nothing obviously wrong with any of their shows, and
Yeah.
that means that they've done so much legwork behind the scenes.
Oh my god!
So
Yeah.
yeah,
Like-
I agree.
The worst show I've gone to of theirs was the Modest show, and that's because it was
raining.
It was raining, and that was the only reason it was bad.
it
Like,
was-
and even then, it was great. Sorry.
Even though that like it was raining, it would have been great, but what made it not so great was a lot of the cars that had been gone through this process of like being picked for the show didn't show up.
Right.
Right,
So it
because of the
left-
rain.
Yeah, it left the parking lot pretty empty.
But the thing is,
And
even
that's
with
not their fault.
even with that being like their worst show that they've done thus far, it's like saying like the worst Star Wars movie. It's still a kick-ass show. Like,
There were
it's still gonna
also
be
other
amazing.
big events that day and time.
Yeah,
that was,
like-
that was a big issue. So.
But I mean, still, the thing is like they did an amazing job, and they're at their worst, they're still doing on par with literally any other crew in the state,
I agree.
and that's pretty awesome. And that's why I was saying it was their worst. It was par for Minnesota,
And they're still relatively
Not a bogey.
new too.
and
so.
yeah, they're relatively new. It was par.
They have a
and
good name, a good logo,
It,
good people.
it
so.
was 100% not anything that they could control. It was just like an act of God that made it on par. So
I've seen that in
that's-
insurance documentation.
that's pretty cool. So.
Okay. Question number 7. What affordable car would you buy in California for a week, use there instead of a rental car for the cost of a rental car, and then drive home to turn a profit afterward?
And what was the cost cutoff again?
We're assuming about $3,500. But $1,500 if you really want to be in the spirit of the things.
Yeah,
I think I can do any of those levels. W201.
that's
190.
190E? Yeah, that's a pretty good answer.
Did you see that Haggerty?
You could easily get a nice one for
And
that
I
out
would
there,
keep
too.
driving that thing. I would keep it. I'd
It-
try to get a 2.6,
Did you
but
see
whatever.
that Haggerty put
Probably
the,
end up with a
the W201 on their bull market list for 2019?
I don't doubt it. I passively look. I'm not looking to buy one right now, but like I keep my eye on 190 pricing, and like they never got E30 cheap.
No, they never
Like
did.
they got $1,500, but they never got cheaper than that.
No, and that's the thing. That's what blew up the E30s is they were just so cheap for a while.
Yeah,
Is-
you could get one that ran and drove for $350 to $500.
and it
at one
was
point.
like one of the best cars of all time.
and
Yeah.
it still is a better car than the 190E, but the 190E has a more quality feel to it, so that's a good
I think-
answer. I like
And you
that.
just don't see them.
right.
Yeah,
I saw-
And I feel like it's a little bit more rust prone. I was trying to think of something that rusts or just wears out.
the
And
190. Yeah, it's
especially
got
a,
those little body plugs.
pre 91
Yeah.
that didn't have the cladding.
Yeah,
Those really do let go.
it's
so,
that.
up here.
Yeah, that's a car that I wouldn't say it's not necessarily a bad car or anything, but it's like
That's a good car.
the way I describe it to people like aren't familiar with German small sedans is I'd equate the 190E like if the E30 is like a Supra, the 190E is like an FCRX7.
No, the 190E is Z32 twin turbo.
Yeah, that's a
It's
better
the better car that got no love.
Yeah, that's it.
It actually
That's
did win
exactly it.
comparos,
Yeah.
by the way. If you look back in
That is
Car and
true,
Driver,
yeah.
it did actually. The Z32 Turbo did beat the Supra
That is true.
in a
yeah.
multi-way test, and I think a lot of people forget about that.
Z32 I think is the better car.
It
And
wasn't
also,
as quick, but it was better, more high tech, and all that.
if Brian is serious about being able to get a nice one here for 10 grand,
I'll go in on that.
that is the deal of a century. Right
Oh
there,
yeah, no,
man.
they're so cheap.
A Fairlady
Like,
Z.
if,
Woo.
if you look on like Unet Exchange, like the Japanese like
Mm-hmm.
kind of auction marketplace, there's some really cheap.
Did the
Z32s.
JDM cars have different Hicus options or anything? Because ours came pretty loaded with a super
I think
Hicus.
they had like a super low trim level, but the thing is like the Fairlady was always their Halo car.
Now, was
like-
the Fairlady the direct clone of our 300ZX? Was
Yes.
that- and
The Fairlady Z. All the Z cars have had Fairlady in the name, and the reason was the play My Fairlady was the head of Nissan's favorite play when they were originally designing the Fairlady.
Thank
the
you, Japan,
Roadster.
for having really weird.
did not know that.
I figured there was some correlation, but I thought that was just me making it up.
No,
Coming
that is
from
actually
being a
his
thespian.
favorite one
No,
is
he
my
does.
favorite. No, they have a bunch of weird cars that are like named after like plays or characters, like the Cedric and the Gloria.
Why is this one called Les Miserables?
But
It's
no,
a
like,
van.
no, they'll have like cars like called like Cedric and Gloria and stuff like that that are like named after like characters from plays. It's like they're really big thespian nerds at Nissan.
Oh, Nissan. The
It's good
innocence
to
of
know
a
that
child.
I wasn't just going crazy.
Jan, I guess you've never answered this question.
What?
What would you if we were in California and we had to drive a car back? What would you get?
I would get the little mini Mercedes electric crossover thing.
Smart ED.
The B series.
The B series. You
Oh.
can't get those for that price range. But actually,
And you're gonna drive that back? I did not believe those had DC
True,
fast charging.
okay.
No, they don't,
They're
but-
level 2 only. That would
that-
take
that
you
would
a
be
month to drive it
that'd be
home.
that'd be a
I
car
was
that
just
you
thinking
want to
of a
get.
car
Yeah.
from California that I want to get, but like
That's still a terrible answer.
I know.
I mean, you could bring a tent
It's like,
and like
it's
have
like
a true
5
adventure.
times the top budget.
I know.
And it would take
that
a
was
month to
my
get here.
gut reaction. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Trailer,
Whatever.
trailer with a generator.
Yeah.
Solved.
You would see the world. That's for
I
darn
would
sure.
have to. I'd have to like.
Every county.
I'd have to genuinely think about the question because like I don't.
That's fine. We'll move on to guest topics here. And by guest topics, I mean topics provided by the guest to cover with the guest. So let's start off with infrastructure, cities, design, parking, layouts, and such.
I want to start out. I have one question for Scott. Do you ever play like city builder video games, like City Skylines?
I
or
used to
SimCity?
play SimCity.
You seem like the type because
I
when
haven't
I
played in years, but I did used to like it. Yeah.
If you want to play a really good city builder, Cities Skylines by Paradox.
We're really
Games.
good at tangents here.
Well, I do think it's worth giving some context. I mean, the reason I suggested some of these topics is that I participate in the municipal, basically planning and I don't know, land use and
Land
transportation issues. I ride a bike and walk a lot in addition to driving, and I ride the public transit, which makes me an unusual
A weird car enthusiast.
car enthusiast, which is why I prompted you with
I was
that
going to say, we
questions.
actually covered that a couple weeks
And
ago.
I resent Ryan's answer, but I'll fight him in the parking lot afterward.
Fabulous.
But anyway, that's why I suggested this.
I'll put it
is
on
that
YouTube.
I do spend a lot of time trolling the forums on this stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are probably mostly on the car forums.
We just troll in general.
I look at it from the other side of the coin a lot.
I
the
look at-
urbanists and the people designing cities.
Well, I should say, I mean, there's, as far as how I actually feel about city planning, I do agree with actually biking and stuff like that. But no, when I play like stuff like City Skylines, where I'm like actually building out a town, like I put stuff like that into like into context, where I'm like,
Right.
yeah, actually, I would like to not have literally every single person have a car and have unlimited traffic all the time. Let's have a subway system.
Right.
And building on that, I suppose, that kind of comes down to regulation and law. So I'm just trying to keep it rolling here.
Yeah, I know, it's fine.
Which of the current like transportation laws, just general statutes, statewide, even federal, potentially, I'm not sure what carries over or not, but which ones would you repeal if you could?
Yeah, I was thinking about this the other day. Well, first of all, I would make every state a no front plate state.
Thank you.
Yep.
You
it has
get
no
my
road
vote, sir.
bearing on anything, but
Yeah.
it should at least be consistent. So
Yeah.
I think
That
like
is
in
true.
Canada, they're all front plate in all the different provinces, and it just makes sense to be consistent one way or another.
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'd at least like to ruin the fun of others if we're not gonna be able to ruin it here.
Well, those people probably push really hard to keep the no front plate if it suddenly became legislation, so that
Right.
might actually get the ball rolling in the opposite direction.
Yeah. In terms of repealing, I mean, a lot of it has to do with enforcement and compliance. If you look at speed limits, they're kind of insane because 55 on 94 in St. Paul, it's straight as an arrow.
Especially
And it's
45
4 lanes
and
wide.
35E.
Yeah, and that's for noise
Right.
complaints of the neighborhood because they weren't supposed to build it there in the first place. But
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's more enforcement and
What about like a window tint?
Yeah.
again, I guess that's like a states' rights thing. I mean, it kind of makes sense in the hot, sunny climates. It makes less sense here, but I'd like it to be consistent.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually don't know if we should really allow dark front tint, but
I think
I
front,
still like it.
front tint I'm not a big fan of, but I think like what we do here for trucks, where it's
Yeah, I don't think there
it's like I think there's like a 70 or 80% like
yeah, it's
like
different for the type
maximum.
of vehicle.
like because at that point like you're not like it's not like dangerously like it's not like 5% limo tint where it's like
Right.
it's like getting to a point where it's like kind of dangerous.
Yeah, there's blocking UV
Yeah.
and there's not being able to see.
But it's like with my van, like it's my interior is getting blown away in summer. Like if you look at my headrests on all of my seats, the right side of my driver's side headrest versus the left side of that, totally different colors. So
You're like the trucker that's got like the busted ass skin on the left side and like perfect baby soft skin on the right side.
Yeah.
The right arm. The other one I thought of too was I was in France for a while, and they made me inspect the vehicle, and it was in pretty good shape, but they made me replace the tires because they didn't have enough tread. That was basically the only thing wrong with it. And we used to have emissions testing.
Sort of.
I don't know if I'd really push for that, but look at the jalopy you see going down the road. And
There's a safety inspection.
And you see the I guess fully blown struts. You know, they're floating like a Fleetwood Cadillac. And
When the wheel oscillates several times,
you can see it
in
bouncing.
each one of the body's oscillations.
So it just that's not safe. I mean, it just isn't, and you know that the person driving it is not compensating for that by being an expert driver.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
No, it's just a terrifying vehicle.
so that, I mean, I would probably push for, I don't know,
a safety inspection.
something
But
like
that's
that.
not a repeal. That's which law would you add? I guess we could go over all this together. So repeal, change, add, or increase, decrease, but that's kind of change.
I think when a lot of people hear safety inspection,
Yeah.
they think it to be like a super draconian like combination of like H2OI like camber enforcement
Oh.
and like the TÜV. Or it's like you're with those two things combined, you cannot do anything with your car. You can't even repaint it.
This
Like-
undercoating is not neatly applied. You will
Yeah,
have to
exactly.
send it back to the factory.
There's a medium in between the TÜV and like what we are totally scary laissez-faire Minnesota no inspection.
And there are benefits to that too. So I was kind of struggling with this because that's kind of what's great about this country and also what's terrible about it. And it's hard to really separate that. But you can drive
and
your
that's-
Brexit with the steering wheel on the wrong side, and
With no front plate
I
legally,
think
there's just a
basically.
lot. There's a lot of things that's nice to be able to do.
I think there's
Right.
your safety inspection should be done by a mechanic. It should be very minimal.
Well, I
it
mean-
should be like
It would have to go along with like the registration tabs for the year.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is you have to do it like that's when you would do your emissions. You do it at a mechanic shop and then
Right.
send it in. But you could do something like you need to have X amount of tread depth. Your tires have to be only this different from like the width of the wheel. So like stretch tires like can only go so far.
I don't even care about that really.
But well, I mean,
the
like,
depth
I mean,
I do.
to a certain point, because yeah, I don't know. It's just like there's some things that you can do. It's one of those things. Again,
I think it's just making sure ball joints aren't about to snap. Tire depth is a
That's
good
what I
one.
mean, yeah.
Brake pads. Just like a couple things that are like literally you will kill somebody else on the road.
yeah, that's
John actually just commented on Twitch, like, I hate when I see cars that have been T-boned
yes.
Oh, yeah.
that are just driving down the road.
The structural integrity of the chassis has to be retained.
right.
I shouldn't
man.
be able to see the
I always
ground
wonder
through your
how
floor.
they actually get away with driving those things. Like
Oh, they put some expanding foam and some plexiglass with some rivets.
it's like the duct
Mint.
tape as windows sort
Yep.
of deal. It's like what?
I get shocked when I see those cars not getting pulled over. Like you see like cars with like broken taillights and stuff, like not getting pulled. And then like I forget to turn on my headlights for the 0.5 seconds I pull out of my driveway and get pulled over. It's just that just seems like
Also-
total
Sounds
BS.
like you need automatic headlights.
Well, I mean, like as I'm pulling out, yeah.
Also, like you
Never pull
know,
out.
in elementary school when you're taught to like bust out the taillights if you get kidnapped,
Yeah.
like nobody's gonna pull them over because they're like, eh.
No, well, now it's a luminescent,
Yeah.
iridescent, whatever, glow-in-the-dark pole that has to be in vehicles after
Well,
1996.
yeah, but like you know, the
yeah, I get
busted
that.
taillights, like that's something that shouldn't be allowed.
agree.
Wait, that was 96 that I did that?
Yeah.
After 96 or the year of 96?
I think after.
So
It makes you wonder if it was a high-profile like kidnapping. And,
that it probably
Yeah.
was.
and now
but
Bugattis have dividers in their trunks for some
well,
reason.
I was like, I was wondering like
person in it.
there's gonna be like
What about a baby?
so like with a lot of these weird like tuner cars like coming to like collector stats. I just had this like mental picture of a guy like with a super early EK Civic being like, yeah, it's the one that doesn't have the pull handle in the trunk. It's super rare. They made like 250 of these in this color.
Yeah, it's gonna be like a collector item for like the car that's like right in the middle of the half model year.
exactly.
I remember when I was like in New Jersey, my dad had a rental car with one of those, and the seat in the rental car could go down in the back, and I remember crawling in, like locking myself in the trunk and like popping myself out. My dad was just let me do it. Now looking back,
Guess you
I'm
made
like,
sure that it worked. Oh
Yeah.
man,
You clearly heard that can open.
I did.
Which kind of triggers my Pavlovian Bureau response. But the other one that is more Minnesota specific, and this year hardly even matters, but winter tires. I mean,
Yeah.
come
Oh
on.
my God! No,
Look at Scandinavia, Canada.
I
They're
don't-
all doing it right, and we're just like,
I think-
whatever. Just put others in danger.
so that one I've actually thought of. I don't think that should be mandated because like there's some cars where it's like if you're like driving like 2 blocks from your apartment to the coffee house you work at, I get not having to have a second set of tires, but I
There
think
should be
that
incentive to
there
do
should
it.
be like a huge incentive to do that.
If I'm not
like-
mistaken, the Norway-Sweden model is you don't have to put them on, but if you get in a crash and you have the wrong tires, then they just throw the book at you.
Yeah, no, that's I was
And
just say like some massive
To me, that's
incentive.
the easier way to enforce.
Is it only if it was determined as the primary contributing factor, or just
No, I think you
I
just
think
throw
you
the
just
book,
get
period.
just get ruined if you have
Good.
the wrong stuff. And,
Good.
It'd be like drunk driving, kind of.
and
it's
again,
like,
you could.
I should ask my friend Krista. She lives in Finland. I could probably get a straight answer on
oh
that.
yeah,
but-
do that.
Sure, they all got Hakos there.
Well, yeah, no, she's from Finland. Yeah, you'll ask her and she'll say yes.
Well then, never mind. I'm not even gonna ask.
But yeah, I don't know. It just again, this year is weird because we don't have a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was at the winter autocross with the RS Motors, and I was in my car with the Hakas, and whatever, I'm not great, but the winning car was actually a rental Camaro convertible auto V6
That's
with
hilarious.
all-season tires.
That's
And
so
that thing
weird.
cleaned up because there just wasn't enough snow to necessitate
Yeah.
high-end snow tires. So
and I
all
know-
seasons kind of make sense in a
Snow,
winter like
snow
this.
tires aren't just snow related. It's actually the compound of the tire that.
Well, I don't disagree with you, except
Yes, but
The
the tread
results-
blocks,
the results
yeah,
spoke
I
for
was gonna
themselves.
I was gonna say that the tread blocks with the difference is
they
that-
aren't good for handling.
Yeah, no, the tread blocks are designed for basically as a dirt tire, but the actual compound itself, if you had a snow tire that had the compound of a snow tire but the tread cut of like a normal summer tire,
Right.
that'd be perfect for
It would.
something like this.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know why they don't make that because there's plenty of places
They
I can
do.
think of
What's
where
the
it's like,
WRG?
it's like cold weather. Yeah,
No, it's the Dunlop Winter Sport D3.
Winter Sport D3,
It
and
has
that's
it
just,
has all season sidewalls, and it's got much thinner blocks, but it's got all the siping.
Oh,
So they're
Okay.
That's
they're
good to
very.
know.
I mean, I like what you're saying, but the WRG3 is technically an all
no,
season.
no, that would be
But
that's exactly what I was kind
Right.
of looking for. Something that's got like a winter tread depth,
Also-
but a normal cut.
Michelin used to make the Pilot Sport Alpine, which was that same thing.
Yeah, because I mean, well, there's a lot of places where it's like cold but not snowy, like
Like here.
like-
anywhere in France.
I like John's comment. Spends $1,000 on a cell phone, won't spend $300 on tires.
Yeah. I know.
For
I
real
got,
though,
The double
that's
standard,
that,
yeah.
that's kind of
But
the
nobody
thing, yeah.
nobody sees that as a
Yeah,
fashion statement.
tires for my Sienna were like $40 a pop. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean that's a
I
common
also gave
size,
you a
so.
hell of a deal on that.
yeah,
So
true. But like,
Okay,
your tires should have been about a little more than twice that.
let's keep it rolling on to intersection design. I actually really am excited
Oh,
to talk
yeah.
about this one. So let's talk about just types first. So I personally love roundabouts, just single roundabouts. I don't think an American could handle a double roundabout.
We have a triple in our house, and I love it because it separates the weak from the strong.
oh yes.
That sounds terrifying. 'cause
Oh, it's amazing.
the multi roundabouts are
Don't
bad.
worry, it's surrounded by parks, so if anything happens, you're fine.
Oh my God.
my horn has had so much use near
You have
my
a triple
house.
roundabout in
Yeah.
St. Louis Park?
Yeah, look it up. It's
It's at the-
Louisiana and Highway 7.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what you're
Here,
talking about.
why don't you bring that up on Google Maps and show them because
All right,
it's
well,
actually
keep
really,
talking amongst
I
yourselves.
think I
while
have
find
seen
this.
that because 7's like a freeway now. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is.
used to be like a surface road. But
It's
I
a,
know,
it's
my dad
it's
was-
actually it's a triple roundabout underpass.
so when you say triple, do you mean it's got 2 full rings and then it has like the peel off?
No,
third?
it's got 3 like roundabouts.
Wow. Oh no, you're saying like a series of 3 roundabouts, not a triple.
Oh
wide.
yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant like Charles de Gaulle, Etoile, or something.
No. It's one roundabout feeding into another one
Okay,
and then
yeah.
feeding into a third.
Right, and Eric used to work.
7 right between 100 and 169.
Because Edina's had one like that by the
Yeah.
Galleria for
Zoom
a long
in.
time.
Oh yes. I
Zoom
remember
in.
when those went in.
Yeah.
Those went in.
Louisiana.
I see it. It's right there.
Louisiana's
Top right.
right there. Right.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see that? That's a triple roundabout.
God, this keyboard has had a rough life.
Yep.
Satellite.
Yeah, and there's a big mess of them at the 169,
Yeah,
494
okay.
interchange too. But
Yeah, it's a little different. So I was talking about the roundabouts where there's literally a single intersection and there are 2 roundabout streams within it.
Oh, wow.
So you can drive basically through the intersection by taking the
You stay in the left lane
counterclockwise.
if you're going straight or left, and you stay in the right lane if you're going straight or right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, so it's kind of like the southernmost one, kind of.
Basically,
Zoom in a little bit more.
a
Eric, so we can
Peugeot
look at that.
driver won't
Because
understand
it's easy to understand the single loops, and then you've got the modified ones like the middle one there where you can't do a full circle,
Right. Well, kind of both.
just to cut down on conflict.
There's also one of these in. It's right by Map in Cottage Grove.
Yes, there is. Yep.
Yeah, they're great. Woodbury's really embraced them. There's quite a few there, and they make perfect sense in those basically rural areas.
I would like Third and Conway, or sorry, Third and Maria to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they got plenty of
That's
space
a
there.
dumb spotlight.
And
Or
they-
stoplight,
So when
not
a new
spotlight.
when a new intersection is being constructed, they actually cost roughly the same to put a roundabout in versus a stoplight.
Yeah.
That is so ridiculous.
This is one of those things where I save so much time, like every day, because I don't drive at like 7 o'clock in the morning. or-
Right, the rush hour
Fi-
is
or
the
like
most
4:30.
questionable, but
Right.
again, the frustration of waiting at a light when no one's going is so substantial.
I just like the steady stream of traffic, though.
I think it was not last recording, but it was the week before last where
Okay.
I was 20 minutes late because I
you
hit
brought this up, yeah.
every freaking light.
You were on 5.
Yeah, on 5.
The travel time is much less consistent
Yeah.
when there's stoplights on your route.
Oh my god,
Because there
it's
are
awful.
two bad ones on my way to work, and it can literally make a 6-minute difference
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
in when I get to work.
So I live about maybe 3 miles away from Normandale, and like, so I
The
live
school or community
the co-
college?
Community
the
college.
Okay.
And so I live off of Normandale in Old Shakopee.
Okay.
And if I hit one of the stoplights,
Mhm.
it takes my 3-minute commute and turns it into like 10.
Yeah.
When I
Like, it's terrible.
Is it a smart light or no?
I don't.
I
no,
doubt
don't
it.
think so.
Yeah, and that's one thing I thought should be clarified. You were talking about the what is it, the old computer chip
Yeah.
used in
Yeah.
the old.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were basically mechanical. I mean, they were just like oscillators. Basically, they were just timed. But modern lights, there's a lot more to it than that. Basically, they can be reprogrammed. You can do a number of phases.
Yeah.
So like some lights are like 4-phase, or some are 2-phase.
So what is a phase?
Phase is like how many different directions and combinations of arrows
Okay.
and green lights and red lights are possible. So
Interesting.
the bigger the intersection, basically, the more phases you have. You might have a straight and left. You might have just a straight with a permissive left. You
Okay.
might have
Is that
arrows.
like the flashing yellow then, or
Yeah.
is that something
Yeah.
else? Okay.
Yeah, well, flashing yellow
That
essentially doesn't
flashing-
change anything compared to just a green. It's just clarified what you're able to do.
that
Okay.
flashing yellow is fantastic.
That needs to be on every arrow, as
On
far as I'm
every
concerned.
Yeah, there's been some negative Snelling in 94. There's been some issues there because people are kind of shooting the gap because it's so busy. And so they're actually kind of having some pushback now on the flashing yellow because people are taking too much risk. But
Well,
anyway,
natural selection.
and
Yeah,
the other thing,
exactly
it's
how I feel.
really, it's an incredibly complicated field, but it's actually stoplight engineering.
Yeah.
And basically, when you have a complex system, but near Stillwater, which I take every day, 36 is about 3 or 4 stoplights that separate you from the bridge and, you know, civilization. And basically, they actually retimed those to allow more through traffic to get the greens all the way through.
Okay.
And so if you change one light, it has a cascading effect throughout the rest. And the real key in what they're trying to do is move as many people as fast as possible. But you have to take into consideration the other lights if you change the timing on one.
Are they networked?
Well, essentially. I mean,
Okay.
I think they're programmed individually, and nowadays they probably are internet
But they can
connected.
work on like the same timer, so they can.
Correct. And so what I notice is that, I mean, actually, by your house, I see this too. At Maria and 3rd,
Okay.
if I hit that going west,
Yeah.
then I can always make the south light getting on the freeway.
If you drive quickly, you can.
Well, I apparently do.
Yeah.
But anyway, those are clearly on the
But
same.
it's true. I do
those
it
are
every
clearly
morning.
on the same phased cycle.
Yep.
And so what you see is there's like these, basically a neural system where they're not necessarily in communication with each other, but they are programmed such that if you make this light, well, if you're gonna hit the next light red, what's the point?
Right.
And so it's very complicated. It's like
Have you taken just like Normandale down to like Old Shakopee? And
not in a long time.
so that's a street. This is whenever I have to drive Jan home in like the middle of the night, like on a weekend at like 1 o'clock in the morning.
It's talking about Normandale 98.
Yeah, Normandale, well, not just 98th, all of the
Yeah.
effing lights.
Because Normandale is just 100 when you keep going,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's when you keep going, but when you take it all the way down to Old Shakopee, there's 5 or 6 lights there, and they're not set up on a network or anything. So it's one of those things where it'll take me 5 minutes to get through Normandale. It will take me a half an hour, literally a half an hour. And it's one of those things where I'll be driving along, there'll be nobody else coming. There'll be a guy who walks his dog or something, and then walks through the intersection and just shuts everything down. And now you have like dozens of cars just sitting there stopped for no freaking reason, and then nobody going.
Right.
That's because like it's set up because we get a lot of traffic from 100. So during rush hour, all that stuff makes sense. But at 1 a.m.
And a lot of
But
lights
that's the
do
thing,
have
that's
separate
the-
timing schemes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot near me, especially, it gets very congested in St. Paul at rush hour, especially the afternoon. But then if you go, the cycles generally get shorter during non-rush periods.
And that's the thing is they don't do that
which is
on
great.
Normandale. They don't do that.
And that might be the older hardware that you're referring to.
Yeah, that definitely is. Because, like, what I do, now, my thing is I've been sitting here doing the math. Like, when I drive Jana home, one day I'll drive Normandale, the other day I'll drive Old Shakopee. Old Shakopee to 169 is about 5 miles longer of a drive.
That's a lot.
It's a significantly longer drive. But 169 is a 65 mile an hour zone versus a 55, and there's 3 lights that are set up on a network versus 6 lights non-network and 55 mile an hour. It's shorter, and it honestly breaks even.
Well, it's travel time versus distance. That's everywhere.
Yeah, but I break even every time, but it's more consistent. Like if I'm like trying to like get to bed and it was like a long just movie night, I'll take 169 because I'll be like I'm gonna get home at exactly 11 o'clock.
And at off hours, I think we all sort of learn, or at least I do, if I can take roads that avoid stoplights, then
Yes.
you'll be quicker. Because you just, even if it's a little further and you take a left turn, doesn't matter. You're just avoiding that being stuck at the red light.
Well, it's like even going west. When I used to live in Plymouth and I worked in Roseville, I left work at 3 o'clock. So my options were go 35 south to 94 to 169 to 55.
Should be fine.
Which was okay at 3.
that
It
hour.
wasn't great, but there was still some build up before Lowry Hill. But it was actually considerably quicker to go up 35, go 694, take 169 south.
Yeah.
Even though it's all many mile longer drive, it's also quicker than taking 100 off of 694, taking that to 55 because of stoplights.
Yeah.
155.
So I mean that's one thing where I always took the longer route because I was moving a more consistent speed more of the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I didn't care about anything else. I don't care about it longer, less fuel efficient, this and that. So
Did you ever have to use side roads in Northeast Minneapolis when you were? Because you work not too far away from me, so like I'm thinking.
I do a lot for just
you were
work
north,
travel.
you were
I'm
north loop,
thinking-
not northeast.
I'm thinking
Well, not
Broadway.
now.
I'm thinking like
before.
Broadway
Right.
and University.
We have our shop buildings
Ooh.
right there.
That's an awful.
Is there
awful,
McDonald's right there?
Yeah, that McDonald's,
Oh, that's
yeah.
a terrible area.
Not only that, you try that at like 7:55 in the morning when I'm there, and it's one of those things where
There's probably a guy in a Jaguar cutting everyone off.
oh, that would be me with a Mazda 5, and I'm and what I'm doing is I'm cutting everybody off to go take the street that
Allegedly.
I'm taking the street that Anchor Fish and Chips is on because I can take that. That's a stop sign.
Okay.
It's a 4-way stop sign there.
Sorry about my own tangent, but we need to go there again soon.
Yeah, we do. But it's a 4-way stop sign, and then there's 4 blocks of uncontrolled intersections.
It's called
and
a
then
grid.
20th Street, there is a light, and then it's uncontrolled intersections all the way to work. It's
So
great.
And that's a separate topic altogether, but grids.
Yeah.
Older cities, I think it was Jefferson who advocated for grids, and in some
So
absurd.
you don't get Boston.
Well, basically, like San Francisco is an absurdity of the
Yeah.
grid.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
they basically forced a grid onto something where the topography, it made no sense, but they did it
Wasn't the
anyway.
alternative like radial or something like that, or just like chaos?
It's St. Paul versus Minneapolis. I
Okay.
mean, but anyway, with the grid, which very few suburbs are putting in because nobody wants traffic, you have these basically pressure relief valves. So when things get too busy, you just take the next street.
Sure.
And so what? Somebody's taking a cut through. I don't care.
Right.
And then it prevents these ridiculous bottlenecks. Florida is the best example of this. No one has through streets. They're
Right.
all cul-de-sacs.
Oh,
Yep.
God.
And so they've got these massive arterials, and what do? They get congested, and it's just miserable. So if you just make a grid, then people just naturally filter through that,
Yeah.
and there's just, people don't want it, but it's just a better system.
What
Right.
it's going back to any city builder video game. if you
Wow.
well, no, I mean, like, if you want to get understanding of what it's like to like build a traffic system, play SimCity or City Skylines or something, because you'll understand very quickly how freaking difficult it is. And it's one of those things
My
where
city's always just burned down or got killed by a giant robot.
I'm actually like I try to get good at it, and I am, and it's annoying because it's just like that's the peak of nerdity.
And I could think of other anyway. never
But
mind.
no, it's one of those things where I want my city to look cool, but it's like if you just have a grid, it just works so beautifully. And then you have like a beautiful highway system around the grid
Right.
that makes things even better.
Well, like the best example of this is like where I work. So I work off of 36th Street and 100. So if anybody knows where
Micro Center?
Yeah.
And
We
like,
all know Micro Center.
Yeah, we all know Micro Center very well. But so that area was under construction for a really long time, and the church I work at, it had this frontage road, so I could get off at Excelsior Normandale and take back streets to get to work, so I wouldn't have to like go through this weird pocket of traffic to get to 36th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And the church didn't want to maintain this road because people were driving through the neighborhoods to get to 100.
Oh.
And so they were having to basically upkeep a public road, and they didn't want that. So they shut that down. And so now it's this neighborhood is completely like cut off. And like if there's any sort of construction, I can't get to work. Like we were redoing because it's across the street from a fire department, so the street
I know
needs to
exactly
be-
where this church is. I've done
Yeah.
several food taste tests there.
Yeah, so the fire department, obviously with the fire trucks, that road gets degraded
Communion?
pretty quickly.
No, they weren't communion.
So we just
Paid
replaced the road, but while they were doing construction on the road, there was literally no way to get to the church
Fabulous.
with a car.
Sounds like you need a fajita with a bash bar on it.
Exactly.
I think the most
So I
annoying
had to
part.
park in either the Micro Center parking lot and
They got
walk
the space.
across.
Walk
an
across that
on-ramp.
traffic road? Yeah.
They were having our parents with little children park in that parking
There
lot.
is no crosswalk anywhere
No,
near
there's
there,
not.
and there
And-
shouldn't be.
and walk across an on-ramp to pick up their children with a baby.
It's a
like,
blind
can-
right corner
Yeah.
coming off of Highway 100 South.
Not
Yeah.
only that, we
Should
also
pull
have to
this up.
mention that
Still
there
got
is
roundabouts
Yeah,
up.
that's
Th-
true.
there
If
is
you're
all,
talking
yeah,
about it, you might
yeah.
as well.
This is an awful intersection. But no, on top of that, you also have a quarter-mile line, basically like running start for the highway
Yeah.
that people get. So when people drive past your
They're going
school
really
you work at,
fast.
they're going full chooch.
Right.
You're going
Yeah.
70 miles
So
an
they
hour.
could either park in Micro Center and walk across the on-ramp, or they could park in a neighborhood and
Yeah, yeah.
walk through a bunch of grass and snow to get to.
There it is.
Yeah. So
I'll
Aldersgate-
zoom in.
But all right, so this is the most annoying part of all of that.
So this is Jana's church,
Yes.
where I've done paid taste tests. This is Micro Center, the best store in
Look
here.
at where they put that
Oh, yeah.
cul-de-sac
That's
versus
the
other
fire
street.
department.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
that's
clearly they
closed
broke
off.
that off. They
Yeah.
they
That
wanted
used
to
to be a
cut down
through
and cut
street.
through traffic, which is very
Mhm.
common.
Yep, and then the frontage road with that little roundabout.
So if you
that's
had a
gone.
fajita,
Yeah, you could.
They
just
usually
drive
put
over
up
it.
barriers because
fajita, I said.
No, it's just a little curve.
We should also note that corner going onto 100 is slightly banked.
Yep.
Oh,
So-
this is a fun off ramp. I take
Yeah,
this
it's-
at speed.
It
Oh,
is.
yeah.
That's banked. Like
I've
so
definitely, with my all season,
coming off the highway,
skidded and did
Except
a
you're
360
always
going
with a
onto the
van.
highway.
Oh, okay. On
Yeah.
is okay, but there's always some idiot going slow. So
No,
I used
going-
to work there, and I almost never got to have fun. on
when
it.
I
This-
go
this
onto
is
the highway,
terrible.
I start accelerating.
This
Yeah,
one right here.
like before I knew that there was a Montessori there.
30, drop a gear,
Yeah.
full power.
No, I would start going full power at Oxford.
Well, I have more
Street,
power.
and because I didn't know that there was a Montessori until Janice started working there, and then then I started actually being an adult. But no, I'd take my car. I'd be going 65, 70 when I get on the on ramp because it's banked enough that any car with reasonable suspension will take that without any tire school at 70.
Can we just focus on how beautiful Micro Center
Oh,
is?
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I take many
Actually looks
breaks there.
really garbage right there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful
Can
store.
we talk about how Micro Center's parking lot looks so much better than Burlington Coat Factories?
It's just now just Burlington, I guess.
Yeah, apparently if they change the name. Okay, so maybe we can see the bank if I... Also, can we see how awesome Google Maps has gotten in
Yeah,
the
look
web
at that
portal?
beautiful fire department. You can see my playground.
So anyway, yeah, if you're coming off of
Janet, you
100
can see your
South,
van.
You can see my van.
I see
oh
it right
my
here.
God. Bandit.
So anyway, yeah, that's a fun
That's
little corner.
hilarious.
Yeah, that's a great corner. But you can actually see the banking on
So this right here is where they were having parents and children
Yep.
Oh, that's
walk
bad.
across.
Yeah, with the fire department there, so if there was an emergency, a fire truck would have to like bust out and like
there. Run over a kid. And
Anyway, so
Right.
that's poor design there.
yeah, so they just I don't
that's
know.
not just poor. That's garbage.
They've been structuring
yeah.
that area and they've been failing miserably.
That's the best store in the world.
Can you
right
go in there?
Yeah, can we do a Google tour of Micro Center? Oh, we can't. I love Micro Center. Let's go there after the
Yeah.
podcast.
Look, we can even read their hours, which are very poor.
Yes.
Actually, no, that's pretty decent. 9 p.m. on Monday.
You don't
want
want to work retail when it goes past 9 because you stay there till 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Or if you
hours.
work at American Eagle, you work until 1 in the morning on holidays.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't
So-
do that.
No,
Uh,
it's terrible.
Burr, on the podcast.
Yeah,
so let's bring
I
that back
should
up.
probably
Because
I'm gonna get rid of that there.
we've been doing a crazy long tangent. Are we gonna go to
good
the
with those.
notes?
Yep. I have to get rid of the screen cap first. Okay, I want to talk about yield signs and whether or not we should get rid of them because nobody understands what the hell they
Oh
mean.
my God, they're great, but
They
like you said, nobody knows.
no, I think
Is this a merge or is it a stop sign?
I think
Maybe
they
it's both.
they exist. So if somebody crashes into you, they are now liable via insurance.
Yeah.
Scott, how do you feel about
It's
that?
creating a problem that
Look
shouldn't
at
exist.
Huron and 94. That's a yield entrance. You know what I'm talking
I know
about?
what you're talking about. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. It should be a merge. And
Is Huron an avenue or a street?
it's north-south, so I'm going to say it's probably
It's
an
an avenue.
Well,
Well, it's
what-
also in St. Paul, so it could be whatever they felt like that day.
Is that St. Paul or is that Minneapolis? I think that's actually
Huron?
Minneapolis.
Huron, I thought was still St. Paul.
I don't think this did the right thing here.
No,
Okay,
it's
no, that's it right there.
That's it right
that
there,
weird
yeah.
like turn.
well, what they teach you
That circle thing right in the middle.
in
Hold on.
driver's
That's,
that's
I,
Huron.
I will say that is a beautiful intersection. Like once you're actually in it.
Oh,
and you're-
this is the Stadium Village thing.
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
actually a really
You can
nice.
tell
I like
there's a
this
game
one.
at
That's what my
TCF
sister
or Williams because there's a giant line. So
This entire lane right here is backed up.
so you
for
see how there's a
miles.
curve in eastbound 94,
Yep.
and then there's an entrance through that swirl of roads.
I like this right here. This
Yeah,
is fun.
that-
In
I
the winter,
actually-
it's terrifying. but
For
it's-
for what they had to deal with on that corner, I think they did a really good job designing that.
I mean, it's
but no,
overbuilt,
you
but-
you are right about the.
But
yield
anyway,
sign
there's no
in
reason
there.
why it can't be a merge because if you treat it as a yield, you can't see well enough.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah.
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 So when you come on there, you just can't see around that bend.
You can't yield. Yeah.
Right. And there's actually an even worse one. If you go to west to Uptown, when you're going westbound on 94 and you go northbound or southbound on Hennepin.
Oh God, that
You know what I'm
one's
talking
awful.
about?
Yeah.
In the Virginia Triangle there, yeah. As you go southbound on, yep. So see that swooper? It goes over the top there and then south. Nope. That's
Or this
Lindale.
guy.
This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one you're on there now. And when you come up, that's a
Right
yield
here,
there.
it's a problem.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a yield.
So that's a yield as well. And no one yields. And then it's actually the same thing on Lindale. Those are also yields. Right to the right there.
This
That-
is a yield.
That's
right
also a yield. And if you yield there, you will
Never.
gridlock the freeway because you will never go.
That is a what that is that is a really beautiful road design let down by a single sign design.
Yeah, but what they
It's a
teach you
disaster.
In driver's ed
This
is
used to be a
that-
carousel.
Shaking hands with danger.
It used to be a giant like
danger,
roundabout here,
danger.
and that was way better. If you look at historic photos, it made so much more sense as a carousel.
So that kind of leads me. I'm sorry. I'm going to tangent actually relevantly into back to roundabouts. I want to talk about situations where intersections aren't necessarily retrofitted, but like single lane each way roads versus 2-lane each way roads where they put in a roundabout.
Right.
I think the single lane each way, like no brainers, do it almost everywhere. But the double lane ones, people are so dumb they can't figure out what lane to be to what. Because you get people coming in the left lane
Right.
and
My
then
thing-
smacking through on the right at the
thing
first
my thing
intersection.
with roundabouts, this is the thing that gets me about roundabouts is everybody blames them on because people can't figure it out, and that's like saying, oh well, the electric car sucks because people can't figure it out.
How to
It's-
plug it in.
Yeah, I don't know how to plug it in. I don't know how the computer works. Like, how about you just get better at it, you fucking.
But there are
dolt?
generations of drivers who grew up, or who, I guess trained, if you can call it that, without roundabout training, right?
Well,
'Cause
that's
it
their
wasn't
problem,
part
isn't
of,
it?
Wasn't
Not
part
in
of my driver's ed.
No.
And it might be now. It probably is.
We
by
could
now.
ask Corey, but he's not here.
Hey, how about here's one for you. Pre-war belt. At one point, there were generations of drivers that had never used an electric starter, and they would just leave the starter on and just burn out the starter. People didn't blame electric starters for that. That's just a stupid
probably
person
did.
problem.
Corey, was roundabout usage in your driver's training?
Yes, it was.
He's asking, ask me what. So since he's actually watching the stream, let's just ask
What a
him.
Why is
loser.
Corey not just here?
He was supposed to go clothes shopping with Casey, but she was probably just late or something. No, it was not. And he was born in
Really?
1997, so his driver's training was very recent.
I mean, it
Yeah.
actually
I'll
it,
text my sister.
it
Mine-
dovetails
mine
pretty well with
was.
the yield sign because it's essentially the
Did
same
you
thing.
just say dove's tail?
Dove's tail.
That's excellent.
But anyway, there's another. If you go to Portland and Albert, that's the roundabout near me. Just look for my place.
Those are those.
I'm not going to type your address into the live.
Well,
stream.
Just,
alright,
just go to Snelling and
the-
look south and
The
east.
thing is with roundabouts, if you actually get the driver's ed manual that the state
Look for
gives you,
Idmill. There you go.
if you get the driver's ed manual that the state gives you, there are 3 pages
West
on
one block,
roundabouts.
right there. No zoom in.
Oh, I know this one. Yes.
Yeah.
That was the one where they literally just put a roundabout in the middle of the
Right,
street.
and so
Oh, those are stupid.
This one.
well, you think they're stupid, but you're missing the point.
That no, they actually changed the street. No, I'm
So-
talking about where they just take a normal T intersection, and they put a pole in the center to make it into a roundabout.
Well, I mean, it's the same idea.
That's
but if-
essentially what they
But
did
if
here.
you zoom out a little bit, you'll see why they put this here. So if you look at Hamlin, the way the bridge comes over, it's a pinch point. So there's nowhere to turn right off of Hamlin until there. And so what that means is a lot of people
Slows,
are pouring
yeah.
through, and quickly. And actually, can you street view that? I don't know if it will show, but
yeah.
if you can, you'll see that the sight lines are pretty bad there because there's all these apartment buildings that
Actually,
block.
I'm going to go a little
visibility.
bit further, and then I'll...
But anyway,
Oh, no!
Oh, you ruined it!
delete it.
How do you fix that?
Oh, did the stream just die?
No,
No,
it
he-
took our camera away.
He doesn't know where it
That's
went.
the screen grab.
Now just turn. Here.
You've ruined it.
Um,
It's gone forever.
Really?
Scott's using his camera to.
There we go. We're
Hold
back
on,
on.
guys.
Oh no.
Hold on.
Jen is crying.
Yeah.
Janice crying. You
The,
like
the cameras are still working fine.
you
Window
pr-
capture.
You properly. Really.
I don't like that this keyboard has a trackpad on it, and it will click every time you put your finger on it, even if you're dragging. So you see where I'm getting at.
So my little
Okay,
sister
so here it is.
Julie,
Oh,
who
yeah,
those are
okay.
awful.
Let's hear about this. What
so
year
she
did she
was-
do it?
She was born in '98 and she got hurt. She
Well, that'd be the same
was-
as Corey.
yeah. So
Wait,
she was
Corey
born
wasn't
in
alive
July
for
though.
Biggie and Tupac?
Nope.
But she was born in July, so she got driver's ed training a lot later than most people her age, and she says that she thinks that she learned about roundabouts in driver's ed.
All right, 1 second.
Corey is a year older and didn't, so
All
I'm
right,
going to assume that it
One
didn't.
second. Can we just stop all this? Because
No.
I need to tell you, when you look at the driver's ed manual that you get from the state of Minnesota, that every single driver's ed class has to take, there are 3 pages on roundabouts. It is entirely up to your
Except-
garbage. It's entirely up to your garbage teacher
That is
to
true.
not teach that. If they don't teach that, you shouldn't be going to that class. That's like going to school and not learning cursive. Like, that's the thing. Sometimes they don't teach you that. But then the people that aren't taught cursive are people that end up not going to college.
But I do know that
Well worth it.
my dad, who lived
So great.
who grew up in New Jersey, he knew everything about roundabouts. Like, he learned how to drive because
Well,
they've had roundabouts.
But that's the beauty of
forever.
them, though. They're not very complicated. And so with this one, I drive this a lot, so I'm familiar with it. The sight lines are poor. So if this were
That's a terrible roundabout.
if this were not a 4-way stop, which it could be, and I would always submit that a roundabout of any kind is better than a 4-way stop.
I agree.
This
you're
doesn't defend me that much, but it is tight.
So one of the cool parts of these is that if you're a school bus or a large vehicle, what do? You actually just turn left. You can cut. You don't have to go around. And so that's one of the nice things about a roundabout is if it's not a busy intersection, you can just short circuit and take the short way.
That one looks like it's been installed for quite some time.
Yeah, it's got some
Judging
nice
by the curbs.
some nice greenery. Sometimes it gets a little overgrown and you can't see through, but that's kind of the point. These are 30-mile-an-hour streets, and traditionally you can go 9 over without being at risk. There's no patrol. But if you go 40 down these streets, you're being seriously reckless. And
Negligent. I also go 40 down these streets, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, you can,
In your
but
Ferrari.
At least. No, the Fiat.
if you got the right tires and you're paying attention, fine. But the lighting isn't great.
What about that guy
No,
with the
that-
Mazda 3 that was behind us that one time?
That's somewhere that I would never. I could not get it in my ability to go above the speed limit.
I would
there.
just much rather have this than Eric's stoplight at 3rd and Maria. I would much rather have this. And I realize that's a 2-lane road.
That's a garbage stoplight.
That's
top to bottom.
It's
That's
not
like-
smart. If it's gridded, it's poor.
Right.
That's one of the stoplights where every time I go, it's just moving. I think about running it.
And you have to look at that guy's like terrible Bronco 2 with like the terrible like blade on
Yeah.
it. And I forget what else he has in there.
But no, it's one of those things where it's like every time I'm there, I think about running it. And it's just like your sight line's just barely not good enough that you could
Yeah.
comfortably run that light.
Yeah.
You could comfortably run that.
Some people
light.
do come up the 3rd Kellogg Bridge a little fast, but
Yeah,
That's
that's
why I
the
love the
thing.
Vespa. You can legally run those things if it's safe, basically. So
oh, look at that cow path. Look at that dirt. I also call them desire paths down that green patch there.
Yeah.
this, yeah.
It's called a desire path where people just
Look
take
at that.
something so much that it
Look
becomes
at
a
the
path.
Look
Yep.
at that ethereal school bus.
Right? It's like a hologram. But yeah, this stoplight's really, that shouldn't.
And
Even though it's a
so-
2-lane both ways, or actually, 2-lane from one direction and 1-lane from
Can
the
you
others.
open a new tab and look up 4 to 3 road diet? Because I actually think that'd be a great candidate for 3rd. And basically what you do is you take 2 lanes each way like horrible Dale Street, and then you
Yeah.
give it 1 lane each way, and then you put a center turn lane. Scroll down, there might be something in there. Look for photos.
Maybe I should just go image
Yeah,
search.
the middle one right there is good.
Let me
Can you make it
this
bigger?
Yeah.
So the idea here is you take a terrible 4-lane road.
I hate you, responsive design.
That's good enough. That's good enough. So the idea is you take a giant road like that, and like Dale Street. Oh God, what a disaster! And what you do is you take 1 lane out of each direction, but then you create a giant turn lane in the middle. And you've probably seen this before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great
And,
design. I
and it
love
actually
that.
creates a smoother flow. And you leave space for bike lanes and
This
sometimes
would be
parking.
a really
but-
good fit for. What's the road
Third
coming up?
Street.
The 3rd Street? The
Yeah,
bridge?
3rd Street
Street, yeah.
Bridge.
Yeah.
This
That,
would be
that
a
would
great
so
fit
much
for
better.
that.
So I mean, I'm very much support those because they create like, left turns are so unpredictable. Like Hamlin, I take a lot. You guys, Eric's taken that a few times, but it's a no turn on red intersection, and there's no green arrow to go left, and there's a bunch of pedestrians that block turning, and it just creates this terrible gridlock. Whereas if you had the queued up left turn, then you could just go straight through without worrying about that. So
Yeah, the left turn is what
this is a
super
very
great at.
trendy. It's a trend in road design, and people very vehemently fight the road diet because they're like, well, why would I lose lanes? But they're forgetting that the left turn people are creating this like
They're blocking an entire lane.
the speed differential is very dangerous. If you're
They're-
crossing a street, one person stops, the other person's like, well, why are you stopping? They speed around them, splatter you. It's really bad.
Oh.
So-
It's one of those it's one of those things where it's like that is the street design equivalent of a really tightly wound 4-cylinder. Everybody with
bringing
a
it
V8,
home.
everybody with a V8,
F20C comes full circle, ladies and
everybody
gentlemen.
with a V8 does not understand it, but it's just better.
To quote the Grand Tour, a wet V8.
Yeah, a wet V8.
Just like a really a really underpowered restricted V8
Yeah,
sound.
just
It's a wet V8.
Like a
there's-
Cadillac 4.9.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's
wait.
no sharp noise coming from that engine.
I really like that term. Like it just sounds wet, and it's just like
A slow, lazy, wet V8.
that is a really good description. It's just
You know exactly what you're talking
like
about.
lazy revving and not fuel efficient and
the
doesn't do
C3
anything.
Corvette L88.
The only thing that fuel can be doing is leaving that exhaust unburned. So like it's just wet.
Or washing past the rings into the engine oil.
I love that term. I'm gonna use that. Like that's great.
All right, let's move on to speed limits. Basically, city versus highway versus interstate. So right now we kind of have the statutory limits
Actually-
and all these kinds of things. No, No.
I just want to.
No, the episode's getting too long. We
Yeah,
can't
he's
handle a Ryan
interjecting
tangent.
a lot here.
I'm sorry.
We're
I'm
not
sorry.
No
getting
more
content.
tangent.
I'm just really interested in
I know,
this.
Ryan, which is fine. We like that. That's why you're here. But we also have to finish this episode.
You don't have
So-
to get through all the content. Either.
No, that's fine. I just want to touch on this one, and that's probably all we can really realistically cover, other than maybe touching on the beginner's guide to the winter tire choosing.
Oh, right. Let's do that.
But okay, so we have the statutory stuff where we see a lot of 30s, we see a lot of
Yeah.
like 45s in the intermediates, a lot of 55. The 55 seems like it's kind of switching to 60 in a lot of areas for us, and then interstate, which is
On highways,
largely 65, but we get as high as 75, 80 in other parts of the country. So, what this is basically asking, and we lightly touched on this topic that you put in actually in a couple of episodes ago, where would you trade
Yep.
lower in-speed limits for higher
Oh,
interstate limits?
absolutely,
But
all
since he's
day
actually
long.
here, I'd
And I'm
like to touch it
obviously
again.
what I'm suggesting is yes, we should we should slow down the city streets because that's where people are who
That's
aren't
what
in
people actually
cars,
get hurt,
Right.
Yeah.
and they don't have headlights on, and you know people on 94 don't have headlights on anyway, but that's a different issue.
Well, pedestrians should wear headlights.
So I had an idea, and
That's
a
dangerous.
way to introduce no speed limits in the United States.
No.
But no. Listen. This is my logic.
Government shutdown.
Yes, government shutdown. No.
Incidentally,
no.
we need to bring the Avon time in now.
Well,
all right.
cock it and float it.
So my
We died of dysentery.
my logic is, you know how they have the meters like say like how many cars drive through a certain street. Yeah, one of
Yeah.
those.
Pneumatic tubes are
If
commonly
you,
used.
Those are
I
super
would
cool.
say if you have a road where you have less than say 20 cars per hour, you have more than two
Fewer
lanes.
than.
Yeah, whatever.
Right, they're
You have
countable.
You have more than 2 lanes going each direction.
So
I-
very, very minor rural type
Very
road.
very minor like rural interstates really
And is that like a day wide
throughout
like
a day.
average?
Throughout the day.
Because I
Yes.
mean, a lot of roads are like that, even in populated areas.
Yeah,
at like
I-
2 a.m.
I think for
a
a
cul-de-sac.
within daylight average,
Actually, you live in a cul-de-sac.
and it has to either be a highway or an interstate.
Right.
I think those should be eligible for no speed limit.
What about driveways? What about
No,
people
it-
walking
no,
their dogs?
no driveways. That's I said a highway or I guess a highway would have a could potentially.
Some
all right,
highways look like residential streets with mailboxes
no,
and driveways.
Norel.
yeah, no. So like an actual like interstate style highway where it's actually separated.
So you're talking access controlled.
access controlled street.
That's an important
Yes.
distinction to make.
Yes, thank you. That's what I wanted to talk about now. But access controlled street,
Mm-hmm.
that would be a really good candidate because there's a lot of those in like northern Minnesota.
I'm just thinking of like my drive from Minneapolis to like the middle of nowhere, southwest Minnesota, and I tend to drive.
Chanhassen?
No, like
Pipestone.
almost
Oh.
South Dakota, like
Yeah.
just
Like
really
Worthington?
out there.
Ugh.
It-
Laverne?
It's an hour outside
Wyndham?
of Tracy. It's called the Lakes, Minnesota. Look it
Hey,
up.
put
Sounds
up on the Google Maps.
Sounds like a
Uh,
private community.
Look up MU003 or MU21003, and it'll show you exactly.
MU 21003.
Yeah.
Look it up in maps.
China
That's a
Eastern
flight.
Airlines. Yeah,
Maps.
I could see flying that.
All right, let me go over
There you
to.
go.
I can't find it.
Okay, do one Deer Path Road, the Lakes, Minnesota.
Is that the only like registered address in the entire town?
Or Sandbar. Actually, do Sandbar, not.
Too bad I already hit the thing.
Is that.
Is that it?
No,
By
do,
Grand Rapids.
Cohasset?
do
Who would live
Sandbar
there?
Road.
So anyway, my
What are we
while
getting at
we're
here?
trying to while
Jana, come over here and type it on.
Yeah,
the
I'll
Yeah.
do that. But anywho, what I'm saying is I like to go over the speed limit, but there's all these farm trucks and tractors that pull out in front
and
of me.
that's why I say do it on an access controlled street. However, I wasn't quite done because
I
I
know, Jade. That's why I said that.
I wanted to say during daylight hours.
Yes.
That's the thing. So during daylight hours,
And non-rain.
access controlled, weather dependent, and you have super low levels of people. Yeah, no speed limit, because that's just.
I mean, you won't hear any
aggravating.
complaints from us. I mean, oh, that looks nice.
Surrounded by water, certainly.
Yeah.
Go to satellite view.
I'm finna.
I'm fit now. Yeah, there's nothing to look at.
But I mean, they have variable speed limits. I think it was Europe in general. I think France and I had more experience with, but they would go from 110 to 130 on the interstates based on range.
Kilometers per
Yes,
hour.
yeah, sorry, in kilometers, which this
I think,
podcast always uses.
Yes,
So when you say you're going 100, you really mean you're going 62 miles. per hour.
exactly.
You know, actually, I think
We would never break the law.
I want confirmation on this. I feel like Chicago does that. Actually,
Kilometers per hour?
no, where they'll have a
They're very liberal.
they'll have a weather dependent speed, where it's like
Well, I
if
like the
it's
digital speed limit signs in Europe, which are
Yeah.
I'm pretty
weather
sure
and
I
Make
hour of day.
perfect sense. I,
I
mean,
think-
MnDOT is
Yeah.
watching us like Big Brother anyway, so why not?
License plate scanners? Yeah, how about we put digital speed limit signs
But
in?
then
Thank
they'll
you.
slow us down to 45 in the freeway when we have winter tires.
Yes, but if you ridiculously reduce a speed limit, the compliance will go away
Yeah.
for people actually obeying the speed limit, and then the enforcement will also typically reduce. So a lower speed limit isn't necessarily a bad thing because everyone finds it ridiculous, and then a new arbitrary amount of speed. Right now it's 10 over.
Yeah.
Pretty much
Right.
every police officer you talk to, I'm not going to cite you for 10 over.
yeah, what am I do?
So,
Like,
right.
mess up all traffic
Like
and
if you
piss
went and
off half of the
changed
state.
interstates to 55, you would not get ticketed for 75.
Yeah.
It just wouldn't happen.
Yeah, they did that.
Then the oil embargo.
They literally did that, and it didn't work very well. There's
Like when BMWs had a red line on 55 because
that wasn't
was the
just
speed
BMW.
limit?
That's like everyone.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. Toyota on the A86, you had an optional speed, speed alarm where if you went over 55 miles an hour, it goes bing, bing, bing.
I wish it was like the
Bing.
80s Nissan, like the door chime that was
Bing.
actually like a little music
Yes.
box, and it sounded super cool.
Or it'd be like an
Question are we
actual
on? We
person.
should wrap this one up
Yeah.
so we can get to the
We've been
winter tire.
hopping all over, so let's hop to the winter tires.
Yeah, let's do it.
So, beginner's guide to buying the best winter tires for your particular vehicle.
Well, I don't think it necessarily is the best. It's
the
appropriate.
best fit.
So I have a friend. Her name is Kemte. She's down in Kansas City.
Hi, Kemte.
They've gotten way more snow than we have this year. I mean, they got I think in a single storm they got 10 inches or something crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, she's like, she's got a Subaru manual hatchback non-WRX from
Impressive.
Yep, Impreza
Thank
08, 09. something
That
like
was literally the
Right.
first question I asked Kemte.
that. Do you drive manual?
And she said yes, and then we high-fived. And that was it.
Anyway, so she's looking to get snow tires, and she's originally from.
Snow
Here.
tires on a Subaru. Is she trying to go to the Arctic?
Well, that's not the point. The point is she's thinking about it. So let's give somebody a guide, and
Yeah.
people are intimidated.
Okay, so Kansas City, that's a good piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
They do get snow, but it's not your consistent heavy snowfall every
It'll
year.
be wet
we,
snow.
We have
if
been
you
to
get
Waffle House with a pack of at least an inch of hard snow under our feet. Or at least I
So
have.
I have
it'll
not.
be
I forget who was with me, but
it will be the wet snow when it falls though, because it's a warmer climate than Minnesota, and
it depends.
I'd imagine it'd probably be wet. Or just a big.
It gets cold there. I've been there when it was 15 degrees. It gets cold.
You know what I mean? As opposed to Minnesota, where it's like currently maybe 7, depending on how hard the wind's blowing. But you know, with that, I'd probably say something that's got just huge tread depth. I mean,
No. You're into the
For-
weeds. We're talking basics here. We're
Just the
talking a
basics?
person who
Okay.
likes driving, but maybe isn't like connected. Maybe isn't listening
So-
to these types of podcasts, frankly.
well,
But if you are,
so
For her, I would recommend, honestly, probably the Subaru. I'm not sure if they make that a BRG3.
They do.
in
but you're getting
that
into the details
size.
of the specific tire. I don't think that is what's
I think it
germane to her
does.
issue.
The-
She needs to get a set of wheels. First of all, does she get a second set of wheels or not?
yes,
This all plays into it, though. 'Cause
Okay,
it's
go ahead.
cost and like how much of the time she's actually driving below 45 degrees in a year. And then
Right.
also, I mean, like if you buy General Ultimax Arctics, you're going to significantly reduce your steering feel and your handling ability in the dry above 45.
Right.
And they're also going to wear out a lot quicker. So I would honestly recommend one of those tires like the WRG3 or the Michelin Pilot Alpine or the Dunlop Wintersport D3 just because they have stiffer sidewalls, they have a little bit less winter-prone compounds,
And
so you're
you're-
going to give a little bit of a trade-off.
you're not gonna be throwing it out at 7:30 seconds. 12 years later.
Exactly. They're still going to be pretty functional, but they're way more expensive, so that's kind of the problem.
I was thinking like low cost is paramount.
For her, I would recommend Winter Forces, honestly.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Winter Forces. I've got no problem.
Good on
with
snow,
those.
terrible on ice.
They're
Yeah.
still very good on ice compared to
I'm
an all
fine.
season.
They're
I've-
siped, but they're straight sipes.
I understand.
So, yeah.
They're way worse than the General Ultimax Arctic, but they're still better than an all season, and they wear really well.
I'm totally okay with Winter Forces. As a tire, they're fine. I will say though, what you would want to do is get them in a thinner contact patch, and then do a separate wheel
with white rally style, what's it, OZ wheels or whatever.
No, probably wouldn't even do that. Just get
the
some
Sparko, whatever they are.
No, just
The
get
Sparko,
get some $60 a wheel Diamond Racing, 15x7s.
So would you?
I would get
I was
Steelies.
advocating for steel wheels.
That's I said Diamond Racing.
But then I realized that, like,
just get
and
OBs.
this is a specifically tailored
Junkyard.
question to a
They
person who
look
is not
really cool,
likely to
though.
go and buy things on Craigslist.
Oh, so
If
she's
you're-
not going to go to a junkyard
Well,
and buy
No,
used wheels?
so that's a thing. If you buy Diamond Racings, because that'll be a perfectly fit steel wheel.
But get the smallest to fit over your brakes, right?
Yep,
If you're
Right.
buying new, to get them small.
If you look up Diamond Racing, the
I'm
brand,
not doing
but
that.
no,
Don't
they,
look at
they
People know
make
what Steelies
don't
look
look
like.
they make steel wheels for like racing applications and stuff. They make custom sized steel wheels, but they're really affordable. You can get a full set of wheels for like $300, and they're really nice. They're the
I
exact
thought the
size
retail
you
on
want.
Steelies was usually about 50 a pop. So where's the extra 100 coming from?
That's if you want to get like a really specific size and like lug pattern. But I think that's what's important about that is you can get whatever lug pattern you want. So like
I would just look up Subaru Impreza on Craigslist, buy a cheap set of wheels and tires, rip the old tires off, and get brand new
but
Winter Force
you just
tires.
said she doesn't want to go on Craigslist though.
Well, I mean, she's not the type of person, in my opinion, that would necessarily do that as their first avenue.
Oh, okay.
But
Well-
if it's a reasonable, easy enough thing to work into a day, I bet she would.
Yeah,
Especially if
that'd
it's
probably
half
be
the
fine.
price.
To be honest, you could
But-
probably get
Discount Tire, for instance, or Tire Rack,
I think Tire Rack is the optimum for her.
they both sell really cheap steel wheel options.
Right.
Perfect.
You usually have to call and order them online or on the phone, not online. God. But they
Hello, is this the internet?
and another thing is, does her
Speaking.
Impreza have tire pressure monitor sensors, or is it wheel speed?
what years were Impreza?
I'm guessing in 07, 08, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it does have TPMS.
It's
Sensor,
the
though?
hatch, It's the hatch era.
Or wheel speed?
Well, what you can do
And it's a 2.5 base.
this is something you can easily do when you have.
But I want to generalize it to people who aren't driving Imprezas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, say you're listening and you have no idea how to.
So
buy
if
winter
you
tires.
if you have TPMS sensors in your car, what you can do is you can just take all 4 of them
TPM sensors.
and you can just throw them into
Tire pressure monitoring system sensors.
Oh, okay.
What he said is correct.
Okay.
yeah. So you can actually take those and you can just throw them into the spare tire, like all
okay.
4 of them. You just because all they need is there's
That's a
they're,
good little.
They're just
a good
barometers.
hint.
Well-
That's all they are.
No, but they're still sensing pressure though, because they're going to read
But
0
he's saying if
PSI
you put them all
atmosphere.
in the spare tire, then it's
Like
good.
in the spare tire itself.
Oh, so you're saying like drill another hole in the wheel? to,
No,
put
like you fit them inside. Like
You literally put them in the
you
tire.
literally throw them in the tire. It works. I do
And then
that.
if you need a spare, like, what's that rattling sound?
I do that all the time
They're
at work.
clickety clacks.
Well, no, it's all right. So the thing is,
That's a pretty good little tidbit. I like
with,
that.
with a lot of these cars that have
life
all-
hack.
Yeah,
I've seen
with-
people build little like PVC pipe bomb looking things that are pressurized to 32 psi and just leave
yeah,
them in
you
the car.
just throw them in there.
But-
Yeah, that actually works. Like, and that's we have a lot of customers that do that with their winter tires because they don't want to pay the extra like hour or whatever it is to like program their TPMS sensors on their A6.
I mean, with the Fiat, we've both driven Fiats with no TPMS, and it just gives you a warning light.
yeah,
It's kind of annoying.
that's fine.
And,
Yeah.
you just get used to it. Is there anything more that can
If
happen?
you have some cars with like adaptive cruise control and stuff, they will put that into account. I had an A8 that was in on Friday.
That's too bad.
That had they hit a semi truck tire and blew out a tire, and it was $3,000 worth of repairs
oh,
It's an A8, yeah, just breathing on it.
because
$3,000.
the tire
your timing
barely
chain's affected.
the tire barely touched the driver's side adaptive cruise control camera, which Audi
There are multiple?
yeah they seem
Really?
bifocal. That's how they actually get
Interesting.
depth perception.
Okay.
But Audi, in their infinite wisdom, decided to mount them on the bumper instead of behind the rearview mirror like Subaru did. So Subaru, there you go, +1 over
Right.
Audi. But yeah, so they knocked out a $2,000 camera, and then they also blew out their tire. So it was a Pirelli, so it was like a $300 tire repair. But what was most interesting about that is the cruise control camera we found out like 3 hours later was also an issue, but initially the adaptive cruise control wouldn't work because the TPMS sensor wasn't
so is
reading
adaptive
the correct
cruise
tire.
not just laser?
No.
A radar, I mean?
No,
It uses optical sensors as well?
Yeah, it uses an optical sensor, but it depends on the brand. But with Audi and Subaru, they use the optical sensor. But what's interesting is some of them do reference your tire pressure to gauge what
Your
the speed is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
because if you think about it, deflated tire.
RPM with the compensation for
Yeah,
the TPM.
yeah.
Because TPM is generally based on the RPMs
Yeah.
for speed, right?
A deflated tire will have a slightly lower circumference
Right.
and will actually change the speed. And
Thanks, Obama.
and to be fair, I mean, you're looking at it. I get why they do that, because if somebody gets a 1-over ticket because of some dickbag cop in Montana, like they're totally suing Audi. Because if you had your car set to 55, you're going 56 because your tire was like at 32 psi instead of 33, then yeah, I would be pretty pissed.
I get what you're saying, but that is an unreasonable, arbitrary circumstance. Nobody has ever been cited for one.
I know, but that's still like in
get
the
it.
legal world that makes sense,
I
because
get
it's like the having to put caution contents hot.
But that's also
On, like,
why
a
they,
warning
grill.
labels.
On,
that's
like, a
also
grill,
why they give
yeah.
you 10 over the speed limit, is because
There's margin of error. There's
Yeah.
tire size differential. I
like
get it.
BMWs
yeah.
notoriously read high, which you would think would help. But anyway, some cars.
It's not as bad as the Ferrari. Things like 6 or 7 miles an hour over.
Dang.
Wow. Yeah.
Anyway, we should probably cut it off just in the interest of an hour and a half podcast. But thank you very much, Scott, for joining us finally.
Pleasure.
Yeah, Scott, thank you very much. Yeah, this has been a very interesting episode. I've been more into this
all of the
episode than I
blood
have in a
vessels in
while.
my brain are functioning perfectly right now.
I'm
Lots of mental.
I'm ready for the
this and that,
next
so.
episode. We can just like be awesome.
Anyway, thanks very much for listening, guys. We will catch you on Wednesday.
Bye.
Bye bye.
What about